Hello class, this is a quick video on workflow. We're going to be talking about Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and InDesign. So we'll talk more about why we use each one. Before I jump into Photoshop, if I can, I try to use the tools that are available to me. I'll use Image Edit or Preview on my Mac, and I can go in there and use the Magic Wand tool, adjust the background. It's very easy for me to just delete my background at that point. This is super handy if you're working with an icon from the internet and it has a background on it that you don't want to use anymore. You can just grab that Magic Wand tool and go in and start cutting away the things you don't need. You can zoom in on that image and do the fine details as well. I can even go and grab the paintbrush if I need to. This is the quickest way to get something done. There are different programs very similar to Preview if you're working on a desktop computer or in Linux. There are tools out there with the same functionality. So if I need to adjust my image size or anything like that, Preview's my go-to. If I need to use more detailed work, I'll use a tool like Photoshop. In this case, I'm using the Magic Wand tool, and I'm going to select the inverse of the selection, and that allows me to cut out my silhouette, and I can create a new layer and paste it right into my new layer. This is the way I usually design. I like using layers because it allows me a lot more control over what I'm actually seeing here, and I can bring in different backgrounds. This tool works a lot better than Preview in the sense that I've got a lot of control over other elements of the image, whereas Preview, you're very limited on what you can import and whatnot into the actual image. All right, pretty good. Got all those grays out. Next tool we're going to be talking about is this draw tool, Adobe Illustrator. If you don't want to use Illustrator, there's again lots of other ones. So let's say I need to get an icon. If I need to make an icon and there's not one out there, it's very easy for me to just go and get an image and paste it onto my desktop, and I can trace around the top of it. I'm going to use the pen tool here to do that. Again, this video is very similar to the video that I gave you in terms of how to make cartoons. I'm going to grab the pen tool, and I'm just going to simply start tracing out the different shapes on the piece of artwork. Doesn't matter if I'm perfect here. The background is going to disappear. I'm just creating a little bit of detail by zooming in and tracing it. So here you've seen me go in and I've created a new layer, and I'm going to paste that initial detail into my first layer. Then I'm going to start working on the second layer. I'm going to go grab my circle tool or ellipse, and I'm going to start working on these cherries here. I don't need to draw every single cherry. I just need to do one, get the basic size of the cherry in relation to the rest of the pie, and I'm going to select on it. I'm going to start controlling the stylings, and I can copy and paste cherries on very quickly. Right? Doesn't matter in terms of overlapping the top of the pie crust, and again, that's because I've got control of the different layers here. And very quickly here, I can add some more details, and we've got ourselves a pie. Generally, in an icon, you're not going to want this level of detail. So moving on, I want to show you some of these other tools. I can make a square very easily if I want to, and let's say you want to disrupt the plane of the square. Well, we've got a bunch of tools here to do that. We've got the pen tool, as you've seen before, but also these add anchor point tools. So if you right click on the pen, you see these other tools, the add anchor, delete anchor, and the anchor point tool. I'm just going to put in the add anchor point tool, create some anchors, and then I'm going to select those anchor points and manipulate that line. You'll notice there's two arrow keys at the top here. One's the selection tool, and the other one's this direct selection tool. Direct selection tool allows me to start manipulating those anchor points, where the selection tool is going to focus in on the object in general. I can even create 3D images very quickly, copying and pasting frames and using the line tool to connect the dots. All right, We have a curvature tool as well. It's super handy if you need to create any sort of contours. All right, so that's the basics of Adobe Illustrator. Adobe InDesign. Why do I use Adobe InDesign? It's really a great tool when you need to lay out assets. Okay, and the reason why I use Adobe Illustrator is because I have so much control over font and all of the different assets that I might need to use that I don't have that sort of relational control in these other tools. I could totally line out something in Photoshop, but again, I'm not going to have all the guides that are built into the system. And I think that's what makes InDesign such a powerful tool. If I need to edit something, I'll use my preview or Photoshop. If I need to do lots of detail, if I need to draw, I use a draw tool like Adobe Illustrator. And if I need to lay something out, I'm gonna go to InDesign. So thanks so much, good luck, and I can't wait to see what you make.